Hi, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be building a 327th clone base for a large scale Felucia MoC, at least relatively large scale for me anyway. This is going to be three 48 by 48 base plates that you can see here. And then on the bottom half, there'll be some 32 by 32s. You can see it'll be roughly 80 studs in width. Um, Aside from the clone base, we're also going to include the Separatist MTT in the newly released set, as well as an AAT. We'll have a Nicilum farm, some rock work and ponds, some other ideas I have on how I want to, kind of build this out. I also have an idea for a secret thing, so you have to kind of stay tuned and see what that is. But overall, I'm very excited and wish me luck. Should be fun. So to start out on our MoC, we have one large 48 by 48 base plate. I'm going to make these into Mills plates. So I bought a couple pieces that I'm going to need to do that. First off, we're going to need 9 of these. I don't really care too much about the color. These are 16 by 16. Should take about 9 of those to make that Mills plate. And then I also, the Pick-a-Brick store recently had a whole lot of these guys. So 2x2s. I think I have enough here to at least do one Mills plate. It actually doesn't take too many of these to do this, so we're going to get that going, and let's see what progress we make here on at least getting the plate built for today. There are a lot of tutorials online about how to build Mills plates. I learned a lot about doing it. I've actually never built one before. It's not rocket science. I ended up using the 48 by 48 plate as I showed, and then just added these 16 by 16s. So simple enough, and off we go. The Mills plate is set up. Now, I have already done some pre-building and I kind of have an idea of what the layout of this is going to be. So what I'm going to do is do some baselining on where the walls and where the kind of ATRTs, etc., are going to go. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and tile out the entire plate before we actually start building up what the rest of this is going to look like. Okay, this gives us a pretty decent layout of what we're going to be looking at here. This is where the door is going to be. This is going to be the back kind of engine room. We're going to have the back to tank here, a little table. These are going to be bunk beds up here on the second floor. Here's going to be a hologram, hollow table. And then this will be a second floor here, bunk beds, and then kind of a control room right there. These are actually ATRT docking bays. So I'm going to tile that out where they'll have like kind of power sources here with 2 ATRTs that are a little bit more minifig scale. And then these doors are going to be kind of blocked off with like almost like holographic, well, really, they're going to look like lightsabers, I would imagine, kind of like plasma shields. And then from there, I think we should be in pretty good shape. And then down here towards the bottom, when we kind of scale this out, there'll be a little Nicilum farm that we will build as well, which should look pretty cool. But that's that. Let's go ahead and continue tiling off here once I do the math. Start placing the pieces here. Back to tank. Rotating hollow table. Screen for the clones to see what's going on. And the weapons rack. I'm going to go ahead and start placing the other outer walls. Now I built these 2 walls. This is one of them. that are going to be inserted into the middle here. This one I put the door in the frame. The other one's going to be wide open. You can see the little touchpad here to open the door. We're going to insert those now. Those walls have now been inserted, and I wanted to share this view because as this base is continuously built, you're not going to get a great view of the interior in particular. I'll continue building out the walls, etc., and eventually you'll lose visibility of some of the inside. So this is what it currently looks like, and let's continue on to the next phase. Okay, I wanted to provide a quick update on where we are here. So I did a little bit of work off camera last night and went ahead and built up the wall on this side of the base. Also added in some plants there. You can see that they're kind of being overrun a little bit by the plant life on Felucia. You can see the ladder that I built heading up to the second floor. Here's a quick glimpse of the second floor. You can see the bunk beds. And then also, if I can get a kind of a better view here, a little control panel. And then this is just a kind of a free-floating view there. That gets into the rest of the bunker where you can see the back to tank in the back, the gun rack, etc. And of course the hollow table. Here you can see the two docking bays for the ATRTs. And they fit pretty well. I'll show you how one of these guys gets in here. It's tight, which I knew it was going to be. But I think it does the job. So pretty cool view there of what that's going to look like. And then up top, I put these. These are meant to be kind of pop them out. They just kind of float in there, free floating. And then let's turn this thing around. Now this door actually does not open. I can remove these, and I have this as a whole freestanding one piece, so it's not connected. So in theory, if I wanted to pull it out, it would give me access to the inside. It'd be pretty solid pain in the rear, but I could do it. I'll probably do it if I want to play some minifigures later on. But then here it's what it looks like from the back. So kind of generator things for power, I guess, and then the 327th logo, and then this is another just free-form piece that's just sitting there to give me access once I tile that off. So next step, and I don't know how well I showed this the other day. This is just kind of like showing that the base has been shelled. It hasn't been repaired yet. I thought that looked kind of cool. Give it a little bit more feel. And then I'm going to do something here yet. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. I was thinking about putting sort of like laser barriers or like plasma barriers across. Is like a gate almost, but I'm not sure. I might actually try and put some turrets, like forward-facing turrets here as well. So next step for me now is I need to get a roof on this thing. So I already got that underway. We'll do a quick time lapse of that. And then I think we're getting pretty close to done. I think we need a radar dish, we need some turrets, and a roof. So let's get working on that. Okay, this is it. My first ever Clone Wars base. This is going to be on Felucia. This is the 327th outpost. It's effectively a way station to charge their ATRTs, do some basic maintenance, and everything else. I'll add a few more ATRTs soon. Plan on putting a few others in there. Oh, I realize I need to put some grates in here. I'll get that done later. But I like the way it turned out. There's a little bit of plant life growing on the side. It is Felucia after all. The door, I put these two kind of hydraulic actuators there. And then you can see inside. There's a clone. And then bunk beds for when they need to recover and take a break. And then on the back, we have these generators, the 327th logo. I did obviously go with some yellow to just complement the colors of the troop, of the Legion. Satellite dish for communication. And then you can see inside there, that's where the ATRTs get refueled. Troopers there. And then I found this little thing, which is kind of cool. This is how they're going to get onto the ATRT. So if I hold that there, have this guy come out, it's about the perfect height for them to load. ATRTs should be even a tiny bit smaller than that one. That's a modified version of the one that came in the super expensive battle pack. Pretty pleased with how it turned out for my first ever Clone Wars base. Rotating turret here for anti-air. So I still need to add Commander Bly. So I do have that set. I'll build that when I get to it. But I also obviously need to tile this off. Now, this is going to be one of 3 large base plates. And then I'm going to add kind of the secondary, I guess, the smaller base plates, the 36 by 36, I think they are. Or I'm sorry, 32 by 32. It's time to start tiling off the base. So I went with a color scheme around dark tan, medium nougat, and dark orange, which I refer to as the Geonosis color. The only goal I had in mind here was to try my best to maintain like a color separation. So dark tan to medium nougat, and then medium nougat to the dark orange. So I tried really hard to make sure that the dark tan did not touch the dark orange directly. So I did a decent job, I think. I don't think I had any faults in it. Look, it's not the end of the world, but I sometimes struggle with trying to maintain a level of continuity. I see so many other MoC builders do this incredibly well. So I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. I think there's a ton of color in Felucia, but a lot of that comes from the plants. So I wanted to maintain a very basic color scheme for the groundwork that I was developing here. Now it's worth having a conversation about parts. I made numerous Bricklink orders throughout the process of this build. I have tons of Star Wars sets. I build them, I disassemble them, and I have a decent inventory of parts, but they're all Star Wars related. So they're all gray, dark gray, black, etc. So I did several trips to the Pick-a-Brick wall. I went, ordered parts online at Lego. I did numerous Bricklink orders and really had a field day buying new parts to be able to build these plants and make a landscape that made sense. And ended up, this is the one photo I'll share with you of like what my build inventory looked like as we get into the next phase of trying to build some of these plants. I used a lot of head pieces of different colors and variation, along with the crown. There's a 5-point crown piece that I used to just create some different colors, some vibrancy. I feel like Felucia is an alien planet, far more so than a lot of other planets that you see on Star Wars. So it was very open-ended in terms of how I approached it. I will give a shout out to two people. Kyber Bricks has a YouTube channel that he had to unfortunately abandon, but he gave me a lot of inspiration on how to build some of these plants. And also Nate Builds on Instagram, someone I've been following for a long time, has some great tutorials and kind of it did an incredible Felucia build that I really was inspired by. So I went for, again, a lot of different colors, a lot of different, variants, trying to think about this being an alien world and thinking about how the actual flora grows and develops over time. Now, eventually here, I get into building out some of the other clone components here. This is a crate that I found. Hyperlight Bricks, Abe, has done some incredible builds and has some great tutorials as well. So that's a wrap for the Felucia 327th ATRT way station. Really pleased with how this turned out and what I achieved. Hope everyone enjoyed the build process. And if you have any feedback, please let me know. This is obviously I'm kind of new to mock building and everything else, but I really enjoyed putting this together. I'm looking forward to the subsequent builds and adding the other base plates and seeing how this entire mock plays out. So thanks for watching and enjoy.